Not a lot of actors are as good as me though, so I so don't mean that. Please leave the bit in where I say I don't mean that.
With this story specifically, it's adapting an author's work, an author who writes stories that are unfilmable, a lot of times people say.
Yeah, people say that, but people are so wrong. Yeah, no, I think he's filmable. He writes sort of a hyper-real landscape and hyper-real personalities. And I think sometimes people think that makes them too large or too complicated or something like that. But I think it just means you've got to be a better writer, you've got to be a better director, you've got to be a better actor. And if you can match him, if you can meet him, then you get something good. And I think this is amazing. I'm so proud of it. It's the best script I've ever read.
And you were saying that this was one of 3 films where you read the script and you knew immediately how you wanted to play the character.
Yeah, I did. I mean, that rarely happens to me, but it happened on Narnia, Atonement, and strangely this. And those are all 3 characters that actually I'm probably really far away from. I'm nothing like a fawn, a horny goat man. Horny that way, I mean. I'm nothing like Robbie in Atonement, who's meant to be like this 6'5" bronzed Adonis. And I'm nothing like him, I hope.
You're not a bigoted, sexist, bipolar cop.
No,
at all.
No, with drug and alcohol problems. No. Well, maybe the latter. So yeah, it's kind of strange that those are the parts that seem to kind of come out of me the easiest.
And with Irving Welsh, I mean, there's a specific skill set I think that you have to have as an actor to approach one of his characters. Did you find that was the case?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think you've got to be willing to risk a lot because he does write big and he writes, like I say, hyper real. You've got to really, really go for it. There's no sort of, I'll just be truthful and do small movie acting, and they can edit it so that the audience know what I'm thinking. But I don't really need to do anything. I'll just wait for my close-up and give the nice eyes. Do you know what I mean? There's none of that. There's nowhere to hide, really. You have to attack it. You have to scale it, and you have to try and fucking beat it.
I'm sure it was challenging because one of the main deviations from the book here is that it's about his internal conflict and his mental breakdown.
Yeah.
The erosion of that.
Yeah, the book is much more about. The book's kind of like a dark chronicle of his dark goings on, and it diarizes. Was that a word? Diarizes? Thank you. It diarizes. It commits to diary form almost the state of his physical kind of falling apart. We needed something else for the movie, and what the director did and writer-director did, John S. Baird, so brilliantly, I think, was that he made the through line of this story about his mental breakdown, which you don't necessarily realise the movie's going to be about to begin with. You think it's going to be this nihilistic sort of un-PC sort of shock fest or something like that. And that's what we want you to think for a little while, but it unfolds and there's more depth and there's a lot of surprises along the way as well. But yeah, so it's very much about his crumbling sanity, yeah.
And we do see that the breakdown of some of the more important relationships in his life were extremely vital to his breakdown, I think, and contribute to the mental illness that he's suffering.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's horrible. I wouldn't want to be with him, I wouldn't want to be around him, I don't want to be his friend, I don't want to have a drink with him, but
you can't stop watching.
I can't stop watching it, and I don't know why. And I felt like that when I was reading, and I thought, why is this? And I don't feel sympathy for him, but I do feel something for him. I feel empathy for him. I don't forgive him, but I cry for him, and because he is, as much as he's the most abusive, horrible, manipulative, and nihilistic dude, those are symptoms of the fact that his brain is crumbling, that his sanity is holding on to a window ledge by his fingernails, and when he looks at himself and he finally sees what he truly is, he pays the price.
Do you find that there's a difference in terms of territory, the way people have been responding to this and now promoting it here?
I think France hated it for some reason.
That's weird.
India banned it, which is awesome. But everywhere else seemed to really like it. Britain loved it, and we were lucky. We ended up opening in the same amount of theatres, I think, as X-Men First Class did, which, you know, for a movie that cost, I think, 2.5 million to make, as opposed to the 150 million that X-Men First Class took to make. We were really thrilled that this film that I thought, you know, if we'll get a small art house release in Britain, actually became something that everybody made their money back on. And producers who had remortgaged their houses and things were able to, you know, expand and get a 3-bed instead of a 2-bed. And so that rarely happens for movies as risky as this, and as potentially challenging and you know, arguably controversial as well at times.
And the contrast between a film like this and the X-Men films is so striking. I think now more than ever, it's so clear how vast your work is, or how vastly different all of your characters are. But I mean,
yeah, I've been lucky.
With this coming out, you know, promoting this, having, you know, just promoting X-Men, but also being in Cannes for roughly 24 hours.
Yep, for just under 24 hours actually. Yeah, no, it's been crazy. I've had a couple of years where I've really got to do lots of different things, and you know, I hope that continues. If it doesn't, and I get typecast for the rest of my career, I'll gladly take the paycheck and
what on earth would you be typecast as? Because you just finished Frankenstein, so it's like you can do period films.
Well, I feel actually the last couple of years I feel like I've been playing a lot of mentally ill people. Him, Macbeth, the guy in trance. Professor X this time out is he's having a bit of he's having a mental breakdown, man, and he's abusing drugs and alcohol just like this guy. And then Frankenstein is the original mad scientist. I mean, he's another mental case. So I've been playing a lot of nut jobs.
There is a common thread now that I think about it, but not a lot of actors are able to go from one small film to a massive action film.
Not a lot of actors are as good as me though, so I so don't mean that. Please leave the bit in where I say I don't mean that. It's just a hard cut. Yeah, no. James McAvoy is a total douche.
What happened to you in France in the 23 hours you were there? That gave you
I got off a plane, I went to an airport, I got in a hotel, and I went to a red carpet, I stayed out all night, and then I got on a plane and I came here. That was sort of it.
The disappearance of Eleanor Rigby and
it's
Art House Gem. Making a lot of waves in the festival circuit.
Yeah, we hope so. You know,
these vastly different roles. Do you think it takes someone able to see you in a different light to give you that opportunity at this point?
I don't know. Yeah, I guess. I think audiences are willing to see actors stretch themselves. I think that, you know, there are some actors, I suppose, that just do the same sort of stock thing every time, and I enjoy watching some of those actors. You know, I go to see some of those guys, and I'm like, I want to see so and so do what so and so does. You know, but I think that most audiences are pretty savvy these days, and are very sort of, I don't know, they're quite genned up, you know, and I feel they're like, it used to be the industry that just wanted to, you know, see actors do something different and get bored with it. Not so much the audiences. I feel like the audiences are like the industry now. They're as clued up as them, and they want to see people stretch and pull you around a bit and surprise them. But also, I think it helps when, you know, I'm not sort of one of those sort of $20 million pay package guys who does maybe 1 or 2 massive tentpole movies every single summer and all that kind of thing. So I think while people can be aware of my work and all that kind of stuff, I think there's still enough distance between me and sort of like people's consciousness that actually it's easy for me to play different parts and people to accept it a little bit more.
Well, you mentioned Macbeth, and I remember a few years back you playing that role in Shakespeare Retold.
Oh yeah, when I was quite young actually. I think I was 24 or something.
Maybe that was like 10 years ago now that I think.
It was long, it was 10 years ago I think, 10 or 11.
And what was it, a couple years ago on the stage in West End?
Last year, yeah.
I mean, did you draw on any of that? You kind of have a relationship with Macbeth for this guy. This guy, one person came to see me, lots of people came to see Macbeth, but one particular person came to see Macbeth, and this hadn't come out yet, and he just went, there's a little bit of Robbo in Macbeth tonight, James, and I was like, yes. But you know, they're both intensely traumatized people who are, he's delusional, whereas Macbeth isn't delusional, but I feel he's hyper aware, but just that sort of spurning fate and knowing that you're falling apart and driving hard as fast as you can, knowing that you're driving towards the gates of hell, but doing it on purpose anyway, is kind of
has been kind of fun to explore in both these characters. So,
Absolutely. And there is a thread of truth to the hyper-reality of it all.
And this.
Yeah,
Definitely. I think that you've got to keep that truth, you've got to keep in connection with that truth, otherwise it just becomes a surrealist kind of experiment in celluloid, you know, and it's not that. It is about something very real, very very common in this day and age. That's what fuels the story. Is his as much as it's filthy and on PC and shocking and funny and all that stuff. It's about a guy's broken heart and his broken heart breaking his head as well. You know.
You said that you didn't want to read the book beforehand, but read it after the fact. So I'm wondering, what was your reaction having to read it after?
Filth is one of the most unflinching movies that I've seen, let alone been in. And it is very, very hard on the audience at times. It really challenges an audience. It entertains and it moves and it shocks and all that kind of stuff. But the book is about 10 times more.
More violent, actually.
It's much more violent, yeah. But it's much, and it's. I feel like it's easy to be fascinated with the character in the book. I think it's harder to feel for him in the book, whereas we elicit more sort of empathy and feeling from the audience, or we try to in this one anyway.
And was there anything that you filmed that later ended up on the cutting room floor because maybe it went too far?
Nothing ended up on the cutting room floor because it went too far. A couple of things ended up on the cutting room floor because they slowed it down too much. So one of the scenes that's in the book is a scene in which Bruce gets made love to by a dog. It's a beautiful moment. Well, it's also one of the scenes that all the fans of the book were desperate to see in the film, and they were like, they'll never do it. We shot it. It was in the film until the last minute, but it was just with this dog, with this lovely dog called Angus, and Angus decides to have sex with me instead of the prostitute that I'm trying to make him have sex with, so that I can film it for DVD distribution purposes. And so, but he decides to go for me instead, and I get amorous with the dog. But that ended up in the cutting room floor simply because it was too long. But it is on the DVD extras, so that's good. But fans really wanted to see it, so it's a shame that we couldn't make it in. But you know, look, this is a film. Within the first 5 minutes, you know, we do much more shocking things than that. It really isn't to do with being squeamish. It was just about staying on point with the narrative and not slowing the film down unnecessarily. This is a 90-minute film. You're not going to be sitting there for 3 hours watching endless endings. It's a punch. It's a punch in the head, man. And a punch in the head is a fast thing.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
On yet another great film.
You're very kind. Thank you.
James McAvoy, the best actor in the world.